Mantra 19. Hail to the calming KUAN YIN. Homage to the sacred name of the calming KUAN YIN. KUAN YIN is known to be the protectress of sailors. We are all sailors. We are all manning the ship of Maitreya crossing samsara. We all are moving across the astral sea. We all require the calming of the sea of the astral plane, the calming of the solar plexus, the calming of our emotions. That calming is achieved by the polarity of Alpha and Omega in the spoken word and through our devotion to this image of KUAN YIN. Give your adoration to her in this form, this manifestation of Avalokitesvara, and see that form then directly superimposed over the solar plexus where you are. And in that calmness of that solar plexus, you can extend calmness to life in distress. KUAN YIN grants calm seas for boats and saves the shipwrecked. Some people feel that they are shipwrecked on the shore of life. When all has fallen apart for them, they have nothing else, and they even get discouraged with religion or the path they are on. And they may even vent their anger against the unknown God. We know that at that moment, when everything around us is no longer worth anything, that KUAN YIN comes in the center to lead us to the path of reality. The Chinese word Jing in this mantra is taken in Buddhism to mean the cessation of strife. You need to understand what is the nature of strife. I have observed strife as an argumentative or angry discussion. I have seen it as a vibration that comes out of the bowels of death and hell. I have seen it as a stream of consciousness that people engage. And once they engage in that strife and argument and anger and speaking back and forth, they cannot free themselves. It is like locking into a certain gear, and until the entire vent of argument and anger is spent. It is truly Martian as we know it. It is truly a vibration of the fallen ones that does accuse and argue and become the aggressor against the children of the light, to engage them. And once you are engaged in an argument, then they have your entire pot of light of that moment. So strife itself is one of the most vicious forms of attack of the sinister force, and light bearers engage in it because they feel the need to defend themselves, or because they have a sense of being offended, they have a sense of injustice that warrants them to begin on that course of expressing this agitation and this anger. It is very important in the midst of this then to be silent, to be at peace, and to say very simple worded responses, a few words that simply say, I am not in a position to argue with you. I don't have all the facts. I will look into the matter. I will talk to you about it another time. I cannot enter into this discussion. Whatever you can put together as the words whereby you are firmly and in control of your voice and solar plexus, that you do not engage in the accusation and the argument. You may have to simply walk away after saying something polite. You may be forced to say to someone who will not take no for an answer, peace be still, in the name of God. Now this is surely the challenge and surely the test of the solar plexus and the throat chakra of Morya's chelas. We use this mantra not only for our own calming, but for the calming of those who are obviously at that moment locked into such energies, or who are themselves tools, or who come unabashedly as the adversary of our path. Let us take this seriously, because it does happen, and happen frequently, that you lose your light by this device of the fallen ones.
Love.
Mantra 20. Hail, Ano. Homage to the sacred name of Ano. The Ano KUAN YIN sits on a rock and scans the sea in order to protect or save voyagers. Repeatedly, the Divine Mother is there, right at the moment and the point in time and space where we face the astral plane, the electronic belt, the very challenges of which we have been speaking. The challenge of the dweller on the threshold and the unseen forces, unseen momentums that surface suddenly to take us from our God-centeredness. Hail, Ano KUAN YIN. Homage to the sacred name of Ano KUAN YIN. Mantra 21. Hail, KUAN YIN of fearlessness. Homage to the sacred name of KUAN YIN of fearlessness. The Bodhisattva KUAN YIN is fearless as she enters the hells to save sentient life. KUAN YIN is also known as the one who confers the gift of fearlessness. The Lotus Sutra describes 13 disasters from which one will be saved if his thoughts dwell on the power of KUAN YIN. In this sutra, the Buddha teaches, if incalculable hundreds of thousands of myriads of millions of living beings suffering pain and torment hear of this Bodhisattva, he who observes the sounds of the world, that is KUAN YIN, and single-mindedly call upon his name, the Bodhisattva, he who observes the sounds of the world, shall straightway heed their voices, and all shall gain deliverance. This is not an exaggeration, beloved. This promise of KUAN YIN through her heart gives us access to all of the Buddhas of all cosmos. It is so very and profoundly important to make peace with KUAN YIN, to spend certain days and numbers of days in concentration, moving about as KUAN YIN in visualization and mantra, to build this momentum of the seventh ray of her presence, the violet flame, that gives us entree into those 5 spheres surrounding the heart, whereby we enter the hearts of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. In so doing then, and in giving the mantra of KUAN YIN, we have found a great key whereby singularly and individually, and then powerfully as 1 times 1, we are a worldwide body. We can intercede on this planet in this hour. There is not a 0 chance of opportunity or miracle or grace. There is some percentage of opportunity or miracle or grace in the face of all the predictions and prophecies that are projected upon the world screen in this hour and in this coming decade. We must realize that though the percentage be small, the great law guarantees that one with God is a majority. If you can understand and accept that that oneness means a oneness as a shaft of being, whereby that electronic belt is cleared, the dweller bound, and you stand, giving the Buddhas the option of manifesting the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, the Nirmanakaya, the 3 bodies of the Buddha where you are. To give God that option is the option which Jesus gave to Lord Gautama. Gautama had preceded him by 500 years. Jesus in embodiment gave this option to Maitreya, to Buddha, to Sanat Kumara. He signified the hour when that option was absolute for God to move through him. He said, "The prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me, nothing. He can find no thing in me. Lo, I am that I am. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending. I am that word and that work of the Lord in manifestation." In that hour then of standing as the nexus between a planet and returning karma, it is not enough to decree. In the power of the decree, the ascended masters act in our behalf because we give them the authority to do so. Now we have to give to them our whole body and being and world. That is why Mother Mary and Estrella said to us a year ago, "Present your bodies a living sacrifice." When the Lord may enter your temple fully and wholly and not cause cataclysm in you because you yet have blocks of unreality, then you see, you do count. You count as a bodhisattva for a people and a planet. That path is open to us this very day and moment and hour. It does take cycles. You cannot pass through all of these things at once. Therefore, use the teaching and the science of the cosmic clock to chart your days, chart your cycles, and be certain that on that day and in the hours of that day, you meet the tests of your astrology, your chart, and those noted on Mother Mary's cosmic clock. Defeating them once and for all, you go on to the next. And since things are equal to each other, those things of like vibration that are oncoming in the succeeding turns of the clock are weakened, are reduced, so that when you get there, you can deal not only with them, but with similar planetary forces. Mastery can come to you, your God mastery, more quickly than you realize. It takes alertness, diligentness. It takes sharpness of mind, outsmarting the not-self. Let us remember that beloved Rayolite is the ascended master who bears the fearlessness flame. The fearlessness flame is a white tinged with green, a fiery emerald green. Rheolite has legions of fearlessness flame in his command, and that fearlessness flame roots out in the very depths of the astral body, that fear, doubt, and human questioning, records of death that are on the 2 o'clock line under the hierarchy of Pisces. This must be defeated if we are to have the victory in the solar plexus, the 2-8 axis. When you get the victory on the 2 o'clock line, then when you enter the 3rd quadrant of the desire body and you get on the 8 o'clock line, you get the victory over the astral plane and the astral body and the astral records. Under the hierarchy of Pisces and Jesus Christ, the great Piscean conqueror, you stand on that line in the etheric body, gathering that fire, that sacred fire. And when you conquer on the 2 o'clock line, all of that fire and momentum allows you to enter the astral plane on the 8 o'clock line and to have your victory. I trust you will take this mantra, KUAN YIN, and Rheolite and his legions with you in this process. Please visualize both of them in this mantra. Mantra 22. Hail the robe of leaves, KUAN YIN, Parnashabari. Homage to the sacred name of the robe of leaves, KUAN YIN, Parnashabari. This manifestation of KUAN YIN is based upon the Parnashabari Dharani. KUAN YIN offers protection from pestilence, insects, and illness. She also grants longevity. She is giving us protection from personal and planetary karma of the misuses of the sacred fire of the Divine Mother that result in pestilence, insects, and illness. The longevity comes from her assistance in restoration of the raised Kundalini sacred fire. This form of KUAN YIN is said to represent the 84,000 merits which are teachings credited to Gautama Buddha to cure all suffering. The many, many leaves of Kuan Yin are our protection against the very returning karma that we face today on a personal and planetary scale. Let us visualize the leaves of her garment around us. And remember the words, the leaves of the tree of life are for the healing of the nations. Hail Vaidurya, homage to the sacred name of Vaidurya, Kuan Yin. Hail Vaidurya, Kuan Yin. This manifestation of Kuan Yin saves those who are suffering and in danger. According to tradition, if one chants the Vaidurya Sutra 1,000 times, even the dead will be resurrected to life. When you think of those who are dead to the works of the Lord, dead to His word, you can believe this promise. And even when we speak of the dead being quickened and awakened and rising, and hearing the voice of God in the voice of the Son of God and knowing that voice, and then living, we realize that this mantra has the power to reconnect people walking around on this planet who do not have the tie to their I am presence or their Christ self. And the recitation of the mantra actually allows the Divine Mother Kuan Yin and Mother Mary to weave that connecting crystal cord, to weave the connection, to reestablish the opening whereby they may be ignited once again by the divine spark. This very devotion arose from a Chinese tale about a devotee of Kuan Yin who was in charge of a defense in China. He was captured by the enemy, and the night before he was to be executed, a Buddhist monk came to him in a dream and taught him to chant this sutra. Upon awakening, he recited the sutra 100 times, and when the time for his execution had come, the executioner's sword broke 3 times. Because he had been miraculously saved from his fate, his captors released him. When he returned to his home, he found that the image of Kuan Yin that he owned had 3 sword marks on its head. Vaidurya is the gemstone lapis lazuli, which Buddhists believe produces a desire for prayer, gives spiritual light, and brings peace and happiness, as long as the wearer leads a moral life. A moral life can be defined, and it can be defined in this wise. It is the conservation and the holding in balance of the sacred fire of Alpha and Omega in purity in the 7 chakras. When we have our sacred fire with us and the light of God is not compromised by any misuses in any of the chakras, then we know we fulfill the laws of morality. Mantra 24. Hail Tara, Mother of Salvation, Kuan Yin. Homage to the sacred name of Tara, Mother of Salvation, Kuan Yin. This manifestation of beloved Kuan Yin is blue-white in color. She is wearing a white robe. She also holds a lotus. Tara is an emanation of Avalokitesvara, as well as his consort, is popularly worshipped as saviors in India and Tibet, just as Kuan Yin is worshipped in China. We sometimes refer to her as the white goddess. We see Tara as exemplifying the great white fire, blue fire purity of the great Kali. We see her as sort of a personification of Astrea. And we see in her heart the joy of purity and her great mastery of the 5 secret rays. She assists us with the goddess of light, the queen of light, and the goddess of purity in mastering the sacred fire and the raising of the Kundalini. Let us give her mantra.
Namo Mantra 25. Hail, Kuan Yin of the Clam. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin of the Clam. At last we have the mystery of Kuan Yin of the Clam. Alicia Matsunga, in the Buddhist philosophy of assimilation, explains this curious manifestation of Kuan Yin. Apparently during the Tang dynasty, Emperor Wensong once tried to eat a clam, but it refused to open. So he burned incense and he prayed. Finally, the shell took human form. The emperor invited a monk to explain this miracle, and he explained that it was a manifestation of Kuan Yin. The emperor then had temples and images built throughout the land. Kuan Yin of the Clam. Now we think of this clam metaphorically as the absolutely sealed and closed mind, the closed spirit and the closed heart. And we realize that when we would eat, when we would assimilate the body of Christ, even in ourselves, and yet that body of Christ is sealed from us by that will not state of mind, or when we find that in others. So we burn incense, we pray, we give this mantra to Kuan Yin for the overcoming of human stubbornness and the closed door consciousness that does not answer when the Buddha and the Christ knock. Let us give this mantra. Mantra 26. Hail, Kuan Yin of the 6 hours. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin of 6 hours. This manifestation is based on the ancient Indian division of one day into 6 hours. This bodhisattva symbolizes Kuan Yin's unceasing protection and compassion towards sentient beings day and night. The 4 times 6 equaling the 24 gives us the sense of a very accurate visualization of Kuan Yin in the 4 quadrants of being. And so it is to Kuan Yin of the 24 hours who keeps the vigil of the cosmic clock with us. Mantra 27. Hail the universally compassionate KUAN YIN. Homage to the sacred name of the universally compassionate KUAN YIN. I'd like us to give this mantra before I give you the teaching so that you can assimilate the teaching.
KUAN YIN.
Now we take up the quality of compassion as it has been related to the quality of resolve, resolution. This is seen in Buddhist teachings. There is a Mahayana Buddhist treatise called the Shiksha Samuccaya. In this we find the instruction to the aspirant on the path of the Bodhisattva on this subject. It begins by quoting the Dharma Sanjiti Sutra on why the resolution of the Bodhisattva must be firm. In resolution, truly, O Blessed One, is the root of the Buddha's qualities. He who has no resolution, from him all the Buddha's qualities are taken away. But Blessed One, when he has made his resolve, if there are no Buddhas, the voice of the law comes forth from the firmament and the flowering trees. When a Bodhisattva has a pure resolve, from his own imagination come forth teaching and instruction. Therefore, indeed, Blessed One, a Bodhisattva ought to make his resolve. As he can go that has feet, so, Blessed One, he has the Buddha's qualities who has resolution. As he lives that has a head, so, Blessed One, he that has resolution has the Buddha's enlightenment. As he can gain that has life, so, Blessed One, he gains Buddhahood that has resolution. As Blessed One, when there is fuel, the fire burns. When there is none, it does not burn. So if there be resolution, all the Buddha's qualities are kindled for the Bodhisattva. But if not, they are not kindled. Even as, Blessed One, if there be clouds, the rain falls. Without them, it falls not. So, Blessed One, if there be resolution, the Buddha's qualities appear. As a tree, Blessed One, whose root is decayed, is not wont to put forth flowers and fruit. So, Blessed One, he whose resolution is decayed is not wont to put forth any good qualities. Therefore, Blessed One, the Bodhisattva who desires a Buddha's enlightenment must make a good resolve, fully kept and protected, purified and established. Now, what is that resolve? It is declared in the holy Akshayamati Sutra. Now, this resolve is genuine because it is not artificially made. Not artificially made because it cannot be contrived. Not contrived because well known. Well known because without guile. Without guile because pure. Pure because sincere. Sincere because not crooked. Not crooked because straight. Straight because not uneven. Not uneven because strong. Strong because unbreakable. Unbreakable because firm. Firm because not wavering. Not wavering because not dependent. And so forth. And this is called resolution just because it arises from the repeated acquisition of one virtue after another. As it is said in the same place, the resolve to escape comes by specific attainment, and so forth. By resolution is also meant benevolence to all creatures, compassion for all creatures, friendliness to the holy, pity for the unholy, respect for teachers, protection for the unprotected, help for the helpless, refuge for those that have no refuge, a resort for those that have none, comradeship for those without comrade, straightness for the crooked, uprightness for the rapacious, honesty for the false, genuineness for the overreaching, gratitude for the ungrateful, regret for the malicious, help for the unhelpful, truth for those who walk in error, humility for the proud, absence of fault-finding for the fault-finding, silence for others' faults, protection for the sinful, no betrayal of faults for all the deeds of artifice, readiness to hear for all those worthy of honor, readiness to take all in good part for those who admonish. Thus I make firm resolve and determination, and putting compassion in the forefront, I strive for brilliant success. Thus we begin to understand how love is resolution, and the resolution to be love requires all of these very specific extensions of oneself toward different types of manifestations of the absence of love and the absence of resolution. When we resolve to be loving to all, and all whom we meet, and to give them the care and the consideration which they can receive, we must meditate upon their souls, upon their Christ self, and somewhat on the condition of their state of consciousness. Therefore, the resolution to love is the resolution to care, and to care for life in a most special and personal and intimate way, whereby we know that through us, the Buddha will reach them, the Christ will reach them. This is how we learn to be Kuan Yin in manifestation. By resolving to be Kuan Yin in manifestation, we will learn of her resoluteness in love. Mantra 28. Hail Kuan Yin, called the wife of Ma Lang. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin, called the wife of Ma Lang. I would like us to give this mantra first, so we may assimilate the teaching. This manifestation of Kuan Yin carries a lotus in her right hand and a female skull in the left hand. The story of the wife of Ma Lang shares with Miao Shan the rejection of the traditional path of marriage for a path of devotion to the Buddha. Alicia Matsunaga summarizes the legend as follows. About the year 817 AD of the Tang Dynasty, there was a beautiful girl living in the countryside who was sought after for marriage by all the eligible young men. At that time, to eliminate some of the competition, she set forth the requirement that she would marry the man who could memorize the Kuan Yin chapter of the Lotus Sutra within one night. The next morning, 20 men appeared who had complied with her command. So once again, she set forth a new requirement, this time to learn the Diamond Sutra by the next morning. The number of eligible young men was then 10, but it was still far too many. So she set forth a final requirement, that she would marry the man who could memorize the entire Lotus Sutra within the period of 3 days. Only one young man, named Ma Lang, was able to accomplish this feat, so a marriage was planned. Just as the marriage ceremony was about to begin, the young girl suddenly fell ill and died. Shortly after she was buried, an old priest visited the house of Ma Lang and suggested that the girl's grave be opened. When this was done, they found in her coffin only golden pieces of bone. The old monk then explained that she had been a saint to lead others to salvation and was a manifestation of Kuan Yin. Upon saying this, the priest promptly vanished. From this time forth, the people of that district became devoted to Kuan Yin. Mantra 29. Hail Kuan Yin of prayer. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin of prayer.
Amen.
Devotees believe that Kuan Yin will appear to those who pray with detachment from the things of this world, and that invocations to her will bring them great blessings. The 25th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, known as the Kuan Yin Sutra, is recited many times daily by the faithful. Buddhist lore is filled with stories that exemplify the Kuan Yin of prayer. The following legend is related by Luis O. Gomez. It is taken from a chapter in an anthology entitled The Christ and the Bodhisattva. The story is associated with the temple of Kachoji, today in Kyoto Prefecture, in ancient times in the prefecture of Kuwata. According to the legend, the local prefect decided to have a statue of Kannon, another name for Kuan Yin. He decided to have a statue of Kannon carved for his personal residence. He engaged the services of a sculptor and paid him in advance. This sculptor was a very pious man. Since childhood he had carried with him the Kannon Sutra, and every day he recited it 33 times. The sculpture was finished ahead of schedule and was much more beautiful than the prefect had imagined. He was elated, so delighted that he felt like giving the sculptor an additional compensation for his work. Since the prefect was not a man of many means, he could only offer his prized possession, a black stallion. Delighted by this unexpected gift, the sculptor saddled and mounted the horse. Then he set out on his return trip to the capital. The prefect, for his part, looked at the empty stable and began to have second thoughts. Soon regret turned to greed and then anger. He called one of his henchmen and sent him out with orders to shoot the sculptor to death and bring the horse back. The prefect's henchman took a shortcut and thus got ahead of the sculptor and waited in a chestnut grove. He waited until the sculptor had gone by, then let go of an arrow aiming at the center of the man's back. The instant he was hit, the sculptor fell to the ground. The horse turned back and ran in the direction of the prefect's house. In this way, the prefect recovered his horse. But a few days went by, and strangely enough, no one from the sculptor's household came over to inquire about him. The prefect thought this odd, so he sent his henchmen to the capital to check the sculptor's residence. There, tied to a plum tree, was the prefect's black horse. 2 servants were feeding and brushing it, and it looked even finer than before. And there in the garden, the prefect's servant saw the sculptor himself. Seeing this, the prefect's henchman could not believe his eyes. He rushed to the prefect's place to report his discovery. At first, the prefect thought there had to be a mistake, but when he went to the stable to look, the horse was not there anymore. The prefect felt great fear and remorse. He therefore went to the shrine room to confess his sin before the Kannon image. But when he looked at the image, he could not hold back a cry of repentance. There, projecting from Kanon's chest, was the very same arrow shot by the prefect's servant, and a trickle of blood flowed from the wound that it had inflicted in the Bodhisattva. Immediately he called his servant to show him this miracle. Prostrating themselves on the floor, they wailed uncontrollably, and their remorse knew no limits. Shortly thereafter, it is said, both the prefect and his servant shaved their heads, left the lay life, and entered a mountain monastery to practice the Buddhist path. Mantra 30. Hail, Kuan Yin of oneness. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin of oneness. This representation of Kuan Yin rides upon a cloud, soars through the air and conquers thunder, symbolizing that the absolute truth fills the whole physical universe, and that oneness is not duality. I counsel you that this KUAN YIN is the antidote in time of war, even nuclear war. It is the oneness of being, one with God and in the Spirit. It is the body spiritually, alchemically, and chemically in the vibration of the Divine One, that therefore can manifest the neutralization of what appears as the duality of that danger and that death and hell that may come upon the earth. She rides upon the cloud to clear the air of all harmful debris. She soars through the air and conquers the thunder, all sounds man-made, all explosions, all that would come upon us through the weather, the wind, the wave, the hurricane, and through the Nephilim gods at war, as they have played their war games on this planet for many thousands of years. We triumph over the dangers of time and space by triumphing over duality. In this KUAN YIN of oneness, then, we find our true protection. That oneness demands compassion and resolution, balance of karma, settling our accounts with life, having nothing going forth from us that is animosity toward any part of life, for this immediately makes of us beings of duality. By the law of the One, we then become love, and our bodies must reflect it, and therefore we pass through unharmed. Mantra 31 carries the other side of this flame of oneness. Hail KUAN YIN of non-duality. Homage to the sacred name of KUAN YIN, of non-duality. The Pure Land Master Shi Xian, teaching on the concept of non-duality, says, "Let it be known to all Buddhists, do not cling to form. The Bodhisattva is you, not the picture or the image. Let it further be known, I and you are not two, but one." Author C.N. Tay writes of oneness with the Bodhisattva. How can oneness be achieved? Su Dong Pa poses the question and answers, by forgetting I. If you can really achieve non-duality, you are KUAN YIN. If you can really achieve non-duality, you are KUAN YIN. I say we need to be KUAN YIN in order to achieve non-duality. KUAN YIN is not to be sought outside, exhorts Fan Chi, but in the sudden awakening of your self-nature. KUAN YIN is you. You are KUAN YIN. I am that I am. The strong Buddhist belief in the powerful intercession that is wrought by anyone who single-mindedly invokes the name of KUAN YIN also points toward the goal of non-duality. This takes place, as C.N. Tay describes it, by concentrating on KUAN YIN's name until KUAN YIN and I, the experienced and the experiencer, are one and undifferentiable in the one mind. Sai Chi was thus moved to utter in exaltation, "When I worship thee, O Buddha, this is a Buddha worshiping another Buddha." Tay continues, "Although KUAN YIN appears in many forms, reality is one." In Su Dong Pa's inspired lines, "KUAN YIN does not come hither. I do not go thither. The water is in the basin. The moon is in the heavens. When the water is clear, the moon appears. When the mirror is bright, the image emerges. It is the emergence of our awakened self-nature, the kingdom of God within you, so to speak. The sages name it KUAN YIN, the sound of self-nature which is perceived." We have 57 mantras to KUAN YIN. Each time you say her name, you should be meditating upon this reality of one's own self-nature, especially the nature of the Divine Mother within you. So the mantra becomes the sound which awakens the specific self-nature that is portrayed and embodied by KUAN YIN through the word that is spoken. Remember that KUAN YIN came forth as a beam from the eye of Amitabha. The beam from the eye of Amitabha is a beam of light and sound and consciousness, and therefore KUAN YIN is sound in manifestation. We in our awakened self-nature are the pure manifestation of sound, and that sound is the word in the beginning with God, with Brahman. That sound is the word, and for the particular manifestation of that word, by that sound, we recite the mantra. Thus we become the mantra. Thus we become all that KUAN YIN is in that specific chalice. Mantra 32. Hail Kuan Yin, holding the lotus. Homage to the sacred name of Kuan Yin, holding the lotus. The concept of the holding of the lotus is the God control of the lotus, of each lotus of the 7 chakras and the chakras of the 5 secret rays. Holding on to the lotus is like holding power, holding wisdom, holding love, holding purity, and holding light. It is absolute God control. Therefore, the control of the chakras and the light emanation through them is through this mantra, and by this mantra we also become Kuan Yin, holding the lotus. In this form, the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin is also known as Padmapani Bodhisattva. As I have already noted, in Buddhism, the lotus represents purity and enlightenment. It is also symbolic of the Buddhic nature, which Buddhists believe to be inherent in all beings. Our Buddhic nature is inherent in the threefold flame within our hearts, in our Holy Christ Self, in the crystal cord itself, in the I Am Presence, in the crown of life, and in the great power we feel coursing from the base of the spine to the crown. The lotus held by Padmapani symbolizes Kuan Yin's original vow to forego nirvana until all other beings have become fully awakened and have been led to their salvation. This means that we are holding the lotus, the 12 lotuses and the 8th ray and the 8th ray chakra, here in the physical plane, here in the matter universe, here in this body. We are holding the lotus here because otherwise, if we did not hold it, light by its very nature will ascend to its point of origin. So we must hold the light down And this we do by a co-equivalency with that light in our being, but in the negative polarity of the Divine Mother. If we allow ourselves to embody the full positive polarity of the Father with the Divine Mother, we will ascend. Mantra 33. Hail KUAN YIN of pure water. Homage to the sacred name of KUAN YIN of pure water. This bodhisattva carries a vase in the left hand, a symbol of purification. The vase contains the water of life or sweet dew, the nectar of wisdom and compassion. The pure water is the pure flowing crystal clear water of life that John beheld descending. That clear stream of water is the crystal cord out of your I Am presence. And the vase we carry is our heart chakra and all of our chakras. The water of the Divine Mother also rises from the base of the spine chakra. Therefore, the pure water gives us the God mastery, not alone of the water signs of the 12 hierarchies of the sun, but of fire, air, and earth. We must remember the sweet dew and the nectar that is ours from the crown chakra.
Now Nam